Hello and welcome to episode 14, Graeme, of the AutoTalk weekly wrap. Sorry for the 3-minute delay there. We had some technical issues, and I've just worked out what they are. I have a toddler, and it looks like she's been chewing food all into my microphone.
See, it's the show brought to you by reality.
Yes, that's something to deal with a little bit later. But let's crack on with things. Now, it's slightly early this week, of course, because of Matariki. Hope everyone's got a nice weekend planned to celebrate that and the nice public holiday that comes along with it. I'm joined again by B1 and B2, Graeme McDonald and Matthew Hanson. Matthew wrote that line, and he will not be writing it again.
He will not.
Now,
so it's on you.
Yes. Now, he says, taking a sip of his coffee. The first note here suggests I should talk about the Model Y. Now, if you jump on the EVs and Beyond YouTube page, you will see that we have put together a fantastic, if I may say, review of the Tesla Model Y, including me lying down in the back of it. So if you want to see me embarrass myself, jump over to the EVs and Beyond YouTube channel once this is over and go check that out. It's pretty darn cool. I think it's a pretty darn cool car. At the moment, we have the cheapest Tesla Model 3s and Tesla Model Ys in the world. I think a Tesla Model Y here is cheaper than in China. That's thanks to the clean car discount. Tesla is artificially holding those prices down until they can get some delivered. And that car is good value. I think. Dangerous word. I've already had someone...
Richard, can I ask a question of this? Is the base price, to keep it under the clean car discount threshold of $80,000, is it the stripper version? And you then got to go plus all the stuff you actually want in the car. It's a bit like selling, wheels and tires as an extra. Or does it actually come at that, was it $74,000 point? Does it actually come with the stuff you want?
I think 78 by the time you're out the door. It comes with the stuff you want. I mean, we're talking about big alloys on it. It's got, all the app controls you could want. So you can do all the starting, stopping, heating, cooling from your app and open it with a key. It's got the vegan leather inside. The rebranding the market's done, not just Tesla on vinyl, but nice vinyl. It has that huge big screen. It's got 5 heated seats. It's got... the answer is no. Now, there are a few caveats to that. If you want it in pretty much any color but white, I think, or there's a few basic options you can have. You kind of out of luck. I've got a friend who came around and had a look at it and ordered one on the spot, and he's buying it in white and then having it wrapped because he gets better value from that. Because he can have the red one that his wife wanted over the $80,000 limit. But no, it's a heck of a car for the money. And I mean, when you consider some of the vehicles in that price range as well, you're looking at fairly mid-spec Kia Sorentos and Hyundai Santa Fe's and other family SUVs. It's not a bad price point. I don't think it'll stay that way for long. I think they'll probably deliver the first few 100,000, and that'll pop over the limit. They can't hold it.
Yeah.
I understand from a Drive Electric event hosted by Fleet Partners last night, or Fleet Partners event that included Drive Electric last night, that there is work going on to get that cap raised, that 80k limit. But look, the Model Y drives pretty well. I wouldn't say it's a dynamic machine, but it's pretty darn good. Excellent range, excellent comfort, a huge amount of space. The boot that's just out of this world as far as space goes. I mean, when you you've got, I can't remember the figures, it's about 600 litres, it's huge. Weirdly though, the false floor can only take 60 kilograms, so you've got to kind of juggle that. But no, a heck of a lot of car for the money. But we'll get on next to another car that sounds like it's going to offer a heck of a lot of value for the money, and that is the BYD Atto 3. We've mentioned this a couple of times lately. BYD has announced their dealer network this week. They've got a first phase of its sales and service network, which sees an initial 6 dealerships covering 5 main cities, according to the brand. They have dealers in Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga, Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin. with more locations in the pipeline. The really big prominent name to pick it up is the Andrew Sims Group in Auckland, and they're building a new showroom halfway down Broadway, which shows real confidence in the brand when you're talking about putting some serious money into Broadway real estate for that. Now, that is more of a retail shopfront, but it's a substantial one. It's pretty darn impressive. Now, pricing is out this morning. Matthew, have you got that floating around there somewhere? I think it's 52,990 for the short range and 58,990 for the long range.
Sort of correct. So 52,990 is the base, and that comes with a 50 kilowatt hour battery, 320 kilometers of range roughly per charge. And then you have the long range, which is 57,990, and that comes with a 60 kilowatt hour battery. Both of those batteries, obviously, they're BYD's Blade technology, which is pretty lauded. We've talked about how BYD is rumored to be a potential future battery supplier for Tesla, so that's a bit of a feather in their cap. But yeah, what do you think of the pricing?
I think the deal's pretty much done on that. So it's interesting. I mean, that battery is exactly the same size in that long range as in the Model 3 and in the Model Y. And I would suggest you will see that in the next year or so, that battery going into those vehicles. So I think it's exceptional pricing because it's the standard range pretty much matches the MG on spec, but I think on battery, but outdoes it on spec a little bit. And it's a lot bigger car. I think in the maths, it's 10 centimeters or more on the wheelbase. It's a significantly larger vehicle, albeit the MG I think still trumps it on boot. The MG trumps everything on boot. It's got a great boot. That extended range one though, that's some value. That's at the moment that the Hyundai Kona still is a really big seller on the fleets because people like the fact the Hyundai. It's got the service network. It's got, but the key thing is it's easy to drive control wise. Just 4 buttons to go, and it's got amazing range. Well, that Atto 3 almost matches it, and it's got a traditional transmission shifter. Well, sort of transmission shifter. So it's. Can
I just say, from a market perspective, listening to you guys wonk on as advertising representatives for new models coming to the marketplace here, but I think it's actually quite a significant point here. We've just got a under $60,000 EV entering the market with backing from a major distribution chain in New Zealand, with a range of 300 to 400 Ks. And I think this is a bit of a mile marker moment. Now, how the public views this going forward and what they think of a new brand coming in and what sort of confidence there is around a new brand. There's always some hesitance, and rightfully so. We've had, in the past, lots of promises and failure to deliver, but we've also had some really successful new entrants too. Is this a turning point? And I think it's significant. Is it a turning point in the public price point to make a decision to purchase an EV, not just because it's an EV and they are drinking from the sort of holy cup of water, but because it actually just represents good value, and they would buy anything if it was in that price point? This just makes more sense, whether it's an EV or not. I think this is significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the MG's done that to an extent, but they simply haven't had the supply. The old model, they ran out of cars, ran short of what their orders were. The new model, I think they've got more orders than they can take. I suspect some of those will jump to BYD. I think there's going to be a few Chinese quirks about the initial ranges of BYDs, which might take a while, but yeah, we'll see. And there's other brands coming. NIO are looking at new. I think it might be on the radar. XPeng might be on the radar. They're all going to offer interesting things. And there's some more stuff coming from Maxus and the MG, no doubt, as we go. So yeah, I think next year we'll start seeing things like Corolla-sized hatchbacks turning up in the 30,000 range, and I think that's probably going to be more the turning point, particularly on a fleet side. Interesting discussion last night at Fleet Partners, and I was chatting to one of the senior management there, and he was saying, obviously the fleet market's going to play a big part of the rollout of EVs because they buy them 3 years down the track, they become a used car. And interestingly, both MG and BYD have very long warranties, so they're going to get through at least 2 kind of 3-4 year cycles in the market before they get out into no warranty landscape, unlike a Tesla. But what he was saying was that they're almost at the point now where they are going to start pulling back from being willing to finance and lease ICE cars. He can see that point in time coming because the EV stuff now has a way better residual in the used market. It has a lower cost of ownership when it's in the fleet itself. and they just don't know what the risk is of having a piece of hardware on the road when the government says, right, we're going to start taxing petrol vehicles in this way, or we're going to start treating petrol vehicles in this way. They foresee that being way closer than we think, way closer. So interesting time. A couple of comments here from Claire Hamilton through LinkedIn. This is good stuff on new EVs. Should get that market interested. Is there any update on used supply at this stage? Graeme, how's the used supply of EVs at the moment?
Well, I don't personally supply EVs to the market here. It's just not my thing. But like I've said for a long time now, the only markets we can really play in for used stock to New Zealand is going to be right-hand drive, which is the likes of the UK, Japan, possibly Singapore. And we don't really have any other reliable source at this stage of volume apart from Japan. There's a little bit of stuff coming out of the UK, but again, it's just difficulty in accessing it. I mean, the Japanese market, and if you read my column, it's driven by how many new things they sell 2, 3, 4 years ago. We can't import brand new 4-year-old things. And the Japanese market has been really, if you want to call it stubborn, you would, Richard, you'd say it's been stubborn to accept EVs into its marketplace as opposed to hybrids. And that's still the case even now. And so it's not a matter of whether we can import it. It's a case of whether you can find it because it didn't make it in the first place. And I think we are currently buying every single used EV that is available that meets New Zealand's criteria and specification for our marketplace. We're saturated not by demand, but by supply.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I've done them before. But it's, if you take the context of how much New Zealand takes out of the Japanese market in the year from the broader fleet, it's a relatively small percentage. If you look at that versus their EV sales, it's a multiple of 10 or something like that. It's huge, and I think you just you got to look at Japan. People don't have car parks.
No,
they don't have the ability to park a car.
That model, I don't think that model's going to change anytime soon. And I think this is, I know it's a bit of a segue here, but it's one of the reasons I think Toyota have been so stubborn. And again, I'm using words that you would say rather than me, to look at wholesale EV implementation in Japan, because the market just isn't there. The infrastructure and the way the Japanese residential marketplace works just hasn't suited an EV model, and it may not for a really long time. Plus the fact that they generate their electricity from coal, from nuclear. It's not renewables. There's the whole argument about the energy source.
Nothing wrong with nuclear, Graeme. There is nothing. Well, no,
oh, hey,
sorry.
you know what? Show my card here. And I have to at a number of different facilities around the world with a bit of a bent towards that. I don't know why someone in New Zealand hasn't really gone down that particular path. Perfect energy source. But
I will apologise to our Japanese viewers and re-say my earlier comment. There is nothing wrong with nuclear energy when done in a correct way, in the right location, and when proper work is done to avoid natural disasters. I'm not saying there's anything wrong there, so I'm just going to be very delicate.
Clearly that is the case, yes. I'm not advocating we go and build ourselves Chernobyl reactors around the corner. But like everything, we also sold Ford Pintos 50 years ago with fuel tanks mounted in the very back. So we learn from these things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Matthew, do you know what a Ford Pinto is?
I know that when you crash into them, things happen, especially from the rear. So I know enough.
Bad things.
Again, apologies to the Ford Pinto owners watching this stream.
Yeah.
This next one's an interesting one because I almost feel like it's a bit odd that this call has come out. And that's the call for more independent electric car dealerships nationwide. As New Zealand's electric vehicle uptake grows, so too does focus on the industry's ability to supply second-hand models independently. Co-founder of Christchurch EV dealership EV City, Dave Boots, said he's disappointed to not see more specialist plug-in dealerships spread up around the country. He believes some dealers fear selling electric vehicles due in part to customers often having more knowledge of the emerging technology than they do. He is wrong. I'm sorry, he's wrong. We don't need more specialist EV dealers. We need more dealers selling EVs and more training potentially available out there for those dealerships that are doing it. And I think sometimes for those dealerships just to stop for 5 minutes and read the product brochure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what's the issue? We're in a free market, right? So you hit it on the head there, Richard. There's a bit of education obviously required, But there's also different markets and different courses as well. And for some, it just doesn't suit the particular model. These things will come. Dealers, let's be honest, we are some of the best in the world at identifying commercial opportunities under every rock and corner. If there's an opportunity that somebody is willing to explore and exploit, they'll take it and they'll make it. That's just a matter of time.
Yep. And to any independents out there, well, to any dealers out there that do want to pick up EVs and are struggling with the information, give me a call or email me, richard@automediagroup.co.nz. Myself or Matthew will come in and we'll tell you all you need to know about EVs properly. Hey, Matthew.
Careful here, because we also like petrol cars too, guys, right? We do like petrol cars.
We do, but there's an opportunity in the EV world at the moment, and I think they are good. Look, it's an interesting one for me because I'm almost become a little bit of an identity in the EV world, if I dare may say, and I am very, very pro EV. But at the same time, from a business perspective and a work perspective, and simply a petrol head perspective, sometimes have to jump in a petrol car and enjoy it.
And sully yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the best cars I've driven recently, well, two of the best cars I've driven recently just showed that, in that I had the Nissan Patrol with a 5.6 liter V8 and then a Lexus LX 500, their new version of the Land Cruiser, and they were brilliant. And the Patrol is a gas guzzling behemoth. Actually, didn't use as much gas as I thought. The Lexus is a stonking turbo diesel V8, and they are cool and they have their place. And not everything can go EV yet, but a lot of stuff can go EV yet. And I had someone walk up to me at this Fleet Partners event last night. Thanks again to Fleet Partners for having us. And she goes, what do EVs mean for my American classic muscle car in the garage? You know, I mean, what's the deal there? And I said, they're saving the petrol for your muscle car. They are. That's wise words that were, I think, put out there by Jeremy Clarkson a long time ago. The point is, EVs aren't for everyone. They aren't for everything. They will be. But, we can have petrol well into the future if we start using less of it for stuff that we don't need it for. So that's my take on it. Anyway. Now, let's move on to stuff that is... Oh, God. No, we can't. There's too much of that. I'm actually going to touch on something that's not on the schedule, and that is the Salvation Army put out a report this week suggesting that finance insurance products or warranty products, basically, things like PPI and gap insurance and so forth, should be banned. And of course, they are absolutely wrong. Again, I'm just saying that. But the point that was made very wisely by Lynn McMorrin from the Financial Services Federation was that, yes, there is probably some mis-selling of the stuff out there, but it's not systematic and it's more about enforcement. And I'm sure you'll have something on this, Graeme. There's plenty of rules out there that regulate these kind of things. But where's any regulation around it? Lynn's point on it was that these things are good products, great products if sold well. And her point was that the number of people who would have been in the toilet last year if they hadn't had PPI or income protection insurance last year in the last 2 years would have been massive. But there are people out there at the far end of the market who don't do things well. But who's out there doing these things? I mean, you work in a good dealership that follows the rules, Graeme. But do you think anyone's out there catching those that don't?
Well, okay, so here's a classic example of this. There's a 100k speed limit on the road. Does everyone follow it? And this is no different. I know it's a rubbish analogy to use, but yeah, look, there's been, and I'll be blunt here, there's been crap dealerships with crap service selling crap cars to crap people with crap products since time immemorial. And that's going to continue, and until you start bringing effectively police and black helicopters down upon parts of Auckland where these things are going on and shutting them down, they'll just keep popping up. And all of us, we see the ads on Facebook and on radio and, easy terms, learn a license, we finance anyone, beneficiaries. And I just roll my eyes and I think, nothing's changed. All that the Responsible Finance and Lending Act changed was it made it harder for genuine dealers to do business. And I think that's finally been recognised, I hope, by the powers that be in Wellington. For the people at the other end of the spectrum that are just, selling crap cars with crap products. Nothing changed at all because they're not going to get caught. And if they do get caught, there's business shut down tomorrow and start up a new one the next day. On it goes. Nothing has changed. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't. And I think the Salvation Army has a point that some of these services in the wrong hands to the wrong people, it's just usury. But are you going to throw everything out? You're going to say, well, okay, because everyone's driving at 110 k's an hour on the road, our speed limit is now going to be 50, and we're going to put roadblocks at every stage. You can't drive cars anymore. That's not how it works. Most of the industry, once again, we get tarred with the same brush. Most of the industry is responsible and does things properly. There's always the 10, 15% out there somewhere that are poking their head above the parapets that do us a disservice, and that ain't going to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's I encourage anyone to jump on the AutoTalk and go and look for that story. It'll be on the weekly wrap email too. Matthew, if you can make sure it's there as well. Lynn really put it well in her comments. Nothing's perfect, but where's the enforcement? And the good companies and the good dealers are doing this right. Hey, look, I guess you could turn this back around again to, potentially I think a lot of these people who are ending up in these situations are people who can't afford these things anyway. And perhaps, there yet again reinforces a place for things like these social leasing schemes or potentially more vehicle leasing, where a lot of the stuff can be wrapped into a more risk-free payment. These things usually aren't things that are bad at the outset. I think it's more they just leave no room to go wrong. So maybe we need to look at more how we sell the cars and the structure we sell them under than simply financing a car and loading some items on top. I think it's a really complex situation.
I think it's more than that, Richard. Sorry, just very quickly. I think the Salvation Army, bless them for all the good work they do, but I think there's been in growing years a trend towards what I'd say is almost like a socialist mantra, an anti-business socialist mantra in a lot of the press releases they've been putting out in the work. And I sometimes feel as if it's almost like being bad people for wanting to be business people and make money. And it's a sentiment that I think our industry has been struggling with recently, not just in the car industry, but in businesses in general. It's almost like we're being treated a bit like pariahs because we actually are getting out there and running profitable or trying to run profitable businesses. And I have a real issue with the way these things are worded, as if somehow we should all just be social or socialist constructs providing things for cost and free to the people. I have a problem with that. Sorry.
No, totally understandable. Totally understandable. Is there a warranty on the Honda, Matthew?
No, the warranty is just me not crashing it into a wall, I think, and trying to baby it along.
Does it
get out understeering into ditches for me?
Fair enough. Yeah, complex situation. Now, something that literally I started writing about so long ago it's not funny, and it finally seems to have actually gotten somewhere, is the tyre recycling scheme is nearing. Nearing rollout. New Zealand's first nationwide regulated product stewardship scheme for recycling used tyres is set to begin a 4-month trial before fully operating in 2023. The new scheme, known as TyreWise, will ensure tyres are collected and recycled instead of ending up in landfills, roadsides, or illegally dumped. What's the timeline on this, Matthew? It's a bloody long time since they started working on this.
Well, to be fair, I don't. I recall hearing bits last year, but I think you might be across it better in terms of timeline. But how long do you think it's going to be between now and rollout? The headline of the story that we put up was nears rollout. What's it going to be?
What's that, Graeme?
So your puns are terrible. Like the wheels are falling off your puns today. Rolling out.
Look, this project.
I'll give you a clue on this, Matthew. In a previous life where I was involved with what was then called the IMVAA and before that IMVDA, I can recall conversations around TyreWise going back, and I'm going to put a pin and say around 2013, maybe even 2012.
Yeah.
And it could even be before that. If I dug through the archives of meeting papers, it might even be before that.
They came to talk to us not long after AutoTalk relaunched in paper form in 2010, so it would have been but 2011, I'm guessing.
Yep, I think so. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, it's been a tiring wait for this to happen. But good to see. It's an incredibly complex situation again, like the previous one. It hasn't exactly been the most gripping of processes, but yeah, good to see it going, I guess.
Hasn't got traction. Oh no, this is terrible. And look,
something rubber meets the road. Something.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's
the odd thing about this is there's been a ton of money thrown at this over all this time. I don't know, consultancy fees. It seems to be all this has generated in the past, and it's going to be 10 years, is a lot of consultancy fees for a lot of people to do. No, I'm still waiting.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't want to be negative towards it, too negative, but it is a very hard thing. It's a problem that they're struggling to solve around the world. I actually think we've got a few opportunities in New Zealand to do some stuff, and it'll be interesting to see what the actual outcome of the scheme goes. There's so many potential users for that, and Claire, yes, I was about to mention it's they're talking about throwing shredded tires into tar seal. They're talking about great way of getting us lowering our oil use too, I guess. I've been on playgrounds which are shredded tire
There's already uses for them now. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess New Zealand just needs to be clever at it, and I would argue it's not actually difficult technology, and it is something we can really have a crack at. So it'd be good to see how that goes forward with it. So yeah, I think we're gonna call it that one. We're 26 minutes in because we've had a few particular topics, and now excited. Some terrible jokes. Now, if you want some more terrible jokes, I highly encourage you to tune in tonight at 7:30 p.m. You maybe you're running off on your Metariki holiday, but put it on your podcast in your car or whatever. You can live stream. I don't know. I am sitting down tonight with Warren Wilmot, the brand manager of BYD New Zealand, and Matthew Wales from Andrew Sims Group. We're going to go and sit down in the new BYD showroom that's under construction in Broadway and talk about the brand. Now, this is a really rare occasion to get access to people running such a project when it's at this stage. Normally, it's kind of access that only really journalists get, but this time the public can have that access. We have had a huge number of questions come on already. I'm expecting a few people in the door, but you never can tell. Probably, hopefully, about an hour or so, no more. We'll try and summarize the questions pretty quickly. But so much interest in the brand, and really keen for people to hear more about what they're up to and ask them some tricky questions, because it's been an interesting start for the brand. It's really good in New Zealand. We have a traditional distributor who is doing this properly. I know there's been some challenges in Australia with the way they're doing it. Go to the AutoTalk Facebook page or the EVs and Beyond Facebook page, or I think even on my LinkedIn page where you're watching now, and you can hit the set reminder and watch it live on there, and throw some questions to us as well if you want, via my email, richard@automediagroup.co.nz. So that's 7:30 tonight on our Facebook pages, on the LinkedIn page, and really looking forward to that. So I will get that underway. Matthew, why don't you take us out today? Why don't you end the show?
Oh goodness! On that bombshell. It is time. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Do we have any more tie puns? No.
No, I was going to say, I'm just compared to you two saints. I'm going to leave you two to waft out of here on your magic carpets of saintlyhood. I'm going to go and chuck some diesel in my good old diesel burner and go and burn some just to offset your lack of emissions.
He drives a Honda Civic Type R. I'm not sure he is lacking in emissions.
I'll remove the cat on it too, just for you, Graeme.
What, you have it already?
Oh God!
Happy Matariki weekend. Is that what we call it? Yeah. Happy Matariki weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Good trading. If you're going to be open, good trading. Hope you do some business. Okay.
No worries at all. You have a good one. Catch you later, everyone.